Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's stuck in some kind of algorithmic jail, some kind of predictive hell, in which I can only talk about Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Now, fortunately, there is a loophole. Dua Lipa was on Saturday Night Live, and on that show, she did happen to do a sketch about Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Therefore, I've been granted permission by the overlords and Universal Music Group and a whole bunch of other people. I'm permitted to talk about any other music, and I'm super happy to do it because Radical Optimism by Dua Lipa is, maybe my favorite pop album of the year so far, and I really enjoy it. Now, it has benefited. It's benefited from the Drake beef because, I review albums and I listen for a couple days and I review and I move on to the next one. And, I'll still play them from time to time. I might buy them on vinyl or whatever, but in general, that's kind of how I do it. Because I'm stuck in amber like some kind of Jurassic mosquito, constantly sitting here talking about Drake and Kendrick and all these bizarre things, I've actually been sitting on this album by Dua Lipa Friday, Saturday. Normally I'd record a video on Saturday, Sunday, and now Monday. So I've listened to it tons with my baby, who really enjoys it as a dance album. The second I hit stop, she goes, "Ma, ma, ma." She wants to hear this album more. My wife really enjoys it. She's shocked at how much she enjoys this album. My daughter's coming around on it. And I think it makes sense because, I had it. It's like a great pop album. And this year, we've had a lot of great pop artists releasing great albums, but not great pop albums. Taylor Swift and Beyonce are probably the two greatest pop stars in the world, but they both released amazing albums that aren't pop albums. Girl in Red released a great pop album, but everyone doesn't like it, and I don't know why. I don't have answers. That album is great. But this is a step above. My quick and dirty thoughts about it, just my first listen was like, this is like if ABBA and Daft Punk had a baby, and that baby was a very sort of strong-voiced, strong-willed, seductive female singer. By seductive, I mean the Latin sense, seducere, to draw into you, like you are drawn into her just through her personality and her voice, right? And it's clear that, I missed her last album. I don't know why I didn't review it. So this is my first time listening to Dua Lipa. I'm sure I've heard Dua Lipa, but this is my first time listening to her. So I was drawn to this in particular because it's, when on first blush it's like, oh yeah, this album is all produced by Kevin Parker from Tame Impala. So already it has this added layer of interest of like a pop star produced by one of, if not the greatest rock musician on earth right now, right? Dua Lipa. Kevin Parker. I don't edit, so I'm just going to have to deal with those little mistakes. If this is your first time watching me, what's up? I don't usually say what's up. I'm too tired from talking about Kendrick. But it's fun because it's making me realize pop producers are now starting to be a lot the way hip-hop producers are. By that, I mean when you look at a hip-hop album, you read who the producers are. Oh, Alchemist, Timbaland, Pharrell, RZA. They're going to show up and they're going to appear and do interesting things. The same basic idea now happens with pop music. Oh, Jack Antonoff. Oh, Daniel Negro. Oh, Max Martin, right? We're now starting to have these albums where these pop producers have a stamp, have a imprint, have a presence, which goes beyond just that of person behind the scene. And this is, I think, relatively new. I mean, obviously, it's not entirely new. It's not like Giorgio Moroder wasn't there with Donna Summer or whatever. But, who produced her early stuff? Early Madonna. Let her stare into your eyes. Let her stare into your eyes. Patrick Leonard. Stephen Bray. Maybe you're thinking of her more experimental album, Erotica, produced by Shep Pettibone, okay? Early Mariah Carey, Alpha and Saif. Obviously, there's exceptions, a lot of exceptions. Janet Jackson, Terry Lewis, and Jamin Lewis, on the album Control, which is what I want to segue into. This was a long way to get to my segue, which is, this is the fun thing that's happening with pop music, where the more a producer has a voice, I think the more interesting the music is going to get. But I want to warn you, if your perception is the same perception that I had, where you go, oh, cool, this is the Dua Lipa album produced by Tame Impala, let's actually do the stats, okay? Kevin Parker is not the solo producer. There's 11 tracks, first of all. Props to her for having 11 tracks. Apparently she wrote like 500. Thank you for releasing a 36-minute album, your perfectly made pop album with no skips. Thank you. You get less streams per album, but you will get more repeat listens. Thank you for that. But there's actually 4. There's Kevin Parker, Danny Harl, Andrew Wyatt, and Ian Kirkpatrick. And I want to just emphasize to you, whose album is this really? Who is the producer who's really in control? The least significant contributor is Andrew Wyatt. Okay, he's somebody who did a lot of the Barbie soundtrack. What Was I Made For? He co-produced that with Phineas, and I'm Just Ken. He wrote that song, and he's worked with Dua Lipa before. Okay, so this is the way I'm going to break it down. Some songs are solo produced. Some songs are co-produced with a lead producer and a secondary producer, and then some songs have a credit of additional production. So Andrew Wyatt is solo producer for 2 songs, okay? 2 songs that have additional production by Harl. Ian Kirkpatrick, who did Get Him Back by Olivia Rodrigo, did Alpha Zulu by Phoenix, a lot of that Lizzo album, which I really liked, and again, a lot of stuff with Dua Lipa, very interesting producer. Again, just does 2 tracks, solo, assistant by Danny Harl. Kevin Parker only has 2 songs where he's the solo producer listed, with additional production by Danny Harl, 4 tracks where he's co-producing, headlining with Danny Harl, and 1 song where he is secondary to Danny Harl as the secondary producer. So that means he is only producing 7 out of the 11 songs. He plays drums on 2 others, which means he's only in 9 of the 11 songs. The true production center of this is Danny Harl, who has worked a lot with Dua Lipa in the past, who did most of Desire I Want to Turn Into You, who co-produced Anthems by Charlie XCX, which is currently, in my opinion, the song of the pandemic, co-produced that with Dylan Brady. It's now making me realize I came into this album being like, Kevin Parker is the best, Kevin Parker is the best, and now I'm like, but Danny Harl is amazing. I forgot. I didn't really notice all the stuff that he was doing. Now I got another name on my vision. Now he's only the lead producer on the last track of the album, but he's the secondary producer for 6 tracks, and he's an additional producer on the 4 other, 11 out of 11. So let's just get that out of the way. That really in control is Danny Harl on the production side. But who else is on every track? So I've said one guy, another guy, and oh right, Dua Lipa. She's the other person who's on every track. And I'm excited to talk about her because I haven't had a chance to. I don't know why I didn't review her album a couple years ago, but I just didn't. So there you go. What I like about her is that I generally don't like female vocalists in the lower register. But somehow I really enjoy her voice. I don't know, maybe it's because there's like a strength to it, like she's not breathy with it. I like how she gets jazzy sometimes, but not too jazzy. She doesn't get too kind of Winehousey. She doesn't get too sort of Lana Del Rey-y. So I really enjoy that. I'm going to talk about her songwriting. I like her songwriting. She's also an actor. So she was in Barbie and she was good. But then she was in the movie Argylle. Argylle might be the worst movie I've ever seen. My wife and I watched that over a span of 5 nights because we couldn't get through it. I kept falling asleep. It was so bad. It is so bad. I almost didn't want to review this album because I'm mad about anybody attached to that terrible movie. As a music reviewer, there's a plot point in that movie where the character's song is Now and Then by the Beatles, and they dance to it, and they say, do you remember when we first listened to this years ago, and the song came out 6 months ago? Why are they making such an obvious mistake? Okay, I'm not here to talk about Argylle. So what is this album about? What's going on here? What's funny was when I first listened to it, I didn't pick up on a theme. It was just kind of like life of a pop star, love life of a pop star. She's kind of dangerous, kind of not. And the album does not pass the Bechdel test. But as I got into it more, I was starting to really understand it. And then I started to really connect to it. And then I realized it's actually a totally cohesive album with basically one main theme. It's really centered around the cover. So if you haven't seen the cover, it's a woman treading water and a shark is in the water. And it's called Radical Optimism. So I want to talk a little bit about this idea of radical optimism. What does it mean in the context of the song and history? This is Descartes' discourse on the method, Discours de la méthode. And this is actually, I think this is a play on radical doubt. So if radical doubt is the opposite of radical optimism, which I think it is, I think that's the play on words. See, he employed radical doubt. That's how he arrived at the sentence, I think, therefore I am. The concept is this: if you doubt everything except for the one thing you can be certain of, the only thing you can be certain of is that you're thinking, right? I might not exist, right? Right? You might be thinking me up in your head. You really might be. Your own mother might not exist. The only thing you know for certain, the only thing you cannot doubt, the only thing in the entire world that you cannot doubt is that you're thinking. That's the meaning of I think, therefore I am. So I think that's the idea of radical optimism. But why does she need radical optimism? Especially with this scary image of her kind of, bopping in the water, with these sharks all around, It's because she's taken a leap of faith. She's taken a leap of faith because this album is about somebody who is afraid to commit. It's about somebody who needs to be in control. Somebody who, according to the album, whose religion is control. To give into love, to love somebody truly, is to give up control. To truly love somebody and give up a life of partying, of having multiple lovers, of running away, of being Houdini, of escaping constantly. To give up on that life requires a leap of faith, a Kierkegaardian leap of faith into the unknown, to be that stranger in the land of promise with your partner. That's what this album is about. She is not going to be eaten by that shark. She's going to be fine because she has the radical optimism and she believes in a thing called love. I wasn't going to do a share thing. Shout out to my brother Bart, who admitted to liking that song like 20 years ago, and I've made fun of him ever since. Do you believe in a thing called love? It's actually a pretty good song. So that's what the entire album's about. It's all about that theme, and that's a beautiful theme, especially because, not for nothing, but when I met my Balkan wife, both of us were pretty shell-shocked, and both of us were not really sure we were looking for a long-term relationship. Both of us, I think, were fairly comfortable in being in kind of a less committed thing, sort of a more like kind of transient relationship, see how things go, a little more 21st century. What happened was we got blindsided. We got blindsided by love. And then we just had to give up the control of non-contingency, because that's what it is. It's contingency. It's being connected to somebody. You're free. When you're free, but you're also not connected. You're just flying around. You're in control. So, anyways, maybe that's a personal aspect, because I think if you played this album for me 6 years ago, whenever it was I met my wife, that sounds about right, I would have just been like, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. This is an end of an era. Before I get to that song, smash the like bucket, subscribe. If you like me talking about anything that's not Kendrick and Drake, please tell me in the comments, because as far as I know, that's all anybody cares about anymore. I do have a Patreon, and I allow people to get shout-outs, and Michael, King of Rats, said they want a shout-out. They actually said, hey, which is nice, because that's like the first lyric of End of an Era. So, End of an Era. That's going to be my stamp, my example song. Click above my ceremonial robes. Kevin Parker, Danny Harl, 1-2 punch. It starts off nice 1, 2, 3, hey, kind of cool, easy beginning. Like they're kind of getting ready. She's emphasizing that she has a band, that she has people playing, because Kevin Parker's playing real drums. The whole time, though, you look it up, always, it's the same division of labor. Kevin Parker's playing drums and bass and sometimes guitar, and Danny Harl is doing, no. Kevin Parker's doing drums, bass, sometimes guitar, and keyboards. Danny Harl is doing drum programming, bass, and synthesizers. So essentially, all of the kind of band stuff is Kevin Parker, and then all of the kind of poppy electronic producer stuff is all Danny Harl. And it's a great hybrid. The song shows off all that hybrid feeling of having those two things together, which is Dua Lipa's greatest creation. The greatest thing she's given us is Kevin Parker as a pop producer. awesome, like little details of the hi-hat, the sound that it's making. I want to remind you, if you're a Tame Impala fan, Tame Impala is a story of a drummer who made a great band. He's a drummer. That man is a drummer. I don't care what instrument he played first. I don't care what instrument he plays better. That man is a drummer. As a drummer, that's the thing I appreciate most about it. And it's the whole story of like, what's your name? And it's all about like finding real love. Kind of Amy Winehouse-y jazz singing at times, with simple sort of rapping style in the bridge. But the whole thing is this nice, charming story about realizing it's the end of the era, the end of control, that you have to give up control in order to be happy and be in love. Then we get to the song Houdini by Kevin Parker and Danny Harl again. The first time I heard this song, I was sitting over there in my office. I was sitting at my desk on Friday, and I literally said, "Oh shit!" Like, I heard that groove. I was like, "Oh shit, this groove is so good." This is like, oh, this is what pop music produced by Kevin Parker could be like. Oh my god, it's almost like the White Lines Don't Do It by Grandmaster Flash bass line, but just full disco drums. My daughter says this song was ruined by TikTok. So I apologize. If you watch too much TikTok and the song gets ruined for you, yeah, that's on you. Kind of ABBA-like keyboards as well. Also kind of reminds me of that It's My Fault by No Doubt. This whole image of I come and I go, Houdini, Magic Man. Maybe you can be the one that makes me stay. All connected in here. All connected together with this one unifying theme of whether or not she's going to be safe in that water. Lovely bit with this like little harpsichord here, almost an imperial bridge with these descending harp sounds, and then just the stupid awesome guitar solo with like a little talk box sound. That's why you get Kevin Parker in there, because he's going to bring in those little psychedelic-y rock elements there. Once again, we have a woman who's personifying a man. I'm just saying it happens all the time. Taylor Swift put herself in the position of a man. Beyonce put herself in the position of a man. Dua Lipa put herself in the position of a man. Kevin Parker on the Justice album put himself in the position of a woman. I am just saying, as we are now correctly understanding that what we are assigned biologically at birth is not necessarily the truth of our beings, I think that is infiltrating other places in culture in different ways and allowing other forms of expression. And I'm seeing a lot of women taking the position of men and men taking the position of women in music. I'm just going to say it every time I see it. Okay? The case is not clear. Trans rights are human rights. I'm not saying anything that's anti-trans here. I'm trying to make it clear. I think this is a downstream effect of our better understanding that we're clumsily moving towards. Then we get to training season. This album, man. Seriously, Kendrick and Drake, would you just shut up for like a minute so that we can appreciate this album? This 1, 2, 3 punch in the beginning, especially Houdini into training season, almost Daft Punk style guitar work, very compressed and crunchy. I can hardly even describe the way that the first verse, her vocal mastery on this first verse. And then there's this like pre-chorus that I swear to God is basically a sample of "Don't go chasing your emotions, give all your love to me" by ABBA. You know that song by ABBA? Man, ABBA rules. This whole album I'm just listening to, I'm just like, man, ABBA rules. And it's not like it's like imitation. It's not a bad imitation. It's just in that vibe, at least to me. Do you feel that way too? Am I crazy? Am I the only one who hears ABBA all over this album? The bridge has some awesome like 80s like synth vocal sounds, and the second half of the bridge has the da-ding, 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 the Dancing Queen. You know the Dancing Queen? Dancing Queen, da-ding, da-ding, da-ding. That kind of piano descent, it's on there too. And all the way throughout the song, it seems like it's about to threaten us. We're about to go into Drop Town. We're getting set up for, but we never do. We go back into a verse, we go back into a chorus, and it's all about needing someone to take control. That's the person who she's looking for, someone who can take control, because we're in a situation, again, where we're with a woman who's realizing the value of not being in control. Then a little side note here. If you've ever been like me and you've had problems dealing with control, dude, you just don't control nothing. You don't control anything. You just can't. You can't. You can't. The harder, the more you try to control, the more things will slip through your fingers, to paraphrase Princess Leia. You're just stuck. You can't control anything. The quicker you realize you can't control anything, or your desire to control things will not save you from emotional pain. That's all. You think it's going to save you, it won't. These Walls is the track produced by Andrew Wyatt and Danny Harl. This is the guy who did the Barbie songs. Maybe the proudest poppy moment I've ever had. My teenage daughter said that this song reminded her of the Barbie soundtrack. And I was like, what the hell? What the hell? How did you know? Why'd you say that name? No, I couldn't, like, I was like, you know, you don't want apples to fall too far from the tree. But that was just spooky. I couldn't pull that out. But this is great because it's so far from Kevin Parker's style. It's almost like a George Harrison slide guitar and then full pop instrumentation. It's almost kind of like Poker Face. A lot of this album reminds me of if it was Lady Gaga, but I didn't hate Lady Gaga. And I just have to say it, I hate Lady Gaga. Her as a human being, I appreciate. Her as an artist, I respect. I think she has talent. I think she has skill. I just don't like the way she sings. I don't like her songwriting. I don't like her lyrics. I don't like her production. I don't like her. And that has to be okay. I'm not saying she's bad. I'm saying I don't like her. But this is like if I did like her, you know? It also kind of reminds me in a positive way of Pink. I do like Pink. And this reminds me in a positive way of Pink. The lyrics here, though, if these walls could talk. Do you know what that expression means? That expression means like, oh, these walls would tell you stories of what they've seen. That's what it means. Here, it's if these walls could talk, they'd tell us to break up. That's not what the expression means. The walls aren't supposed to have agency and talk to you. It's more like, oh, the White House would tell you stories. The walls of the White House would tell you stories, or whatever it is, right? That there are walls that could tell you stories. But I like it because I see it as a prequel. It's a prequel to the song Hello Walls by Willie Nelson. Hello Walls. Hello Walls. The song where Willie Nelson talks to his walls and talks about how happy they were before she left. And how the windows are crying. He just basically goes around his entire house. If you don't know it, dear God, get familiar with early Willie Nelson. Man, it's genius. You know, you're talking to your walls, and the walls are saying how much she misses her, right? So this is the prequel. So if the walls could talk, they'd say break up. Now the walls told you to break up, but now later in the Willie Nelson song, it's like, walls, don't you miss her? Because like maybe you screwed up. I do like it though that it's a lot about like the courage that it takes to break up. Now I'm in a happy relationship, but I've been in unhappy relationships, and it takes a lot of courage to break them up. And this is sort of about that. When she said it's your fault, I thought she said it's your fart. That made me laugh. The second verse is cool because it gets a little more pared down and gives more space for her voice to do like slight acrobatics. I really like how restrained she is with her vocal acrobatics. This is the example of like, I like pop music. I like good music. Why do I have to hear so many bad songs when I go to the supermarket? There's so much good pop music I would love to hear. Next track is called What You Doin'. Again, Kevin Parker. This is one of his solo songs. Super swirling. Additional production by Harl, almost a Mariah Carey-like opening, and then the super hard drums, just super well-used chimes, and it builds up over time with tambourine shakes and keyboard flutters, and what does she say? I'm no good at giving up control. Once you notice it, it's everywhere in this album. And what I think is great is that she really gives off a true feeling of strength. And I just, you know, I like strong women. That's a thing, you know? And she just really gives that feeling of strength. That's just, you know, like she doesn't feel frail or victimized or like, I mean, you can be strong and victimized, but I mean, she doesn't feel like scared and hurt, which a lot of singers, and I'm not gendering that, a lot of singers, male and female, are scared and hurt. She has this kind of like what feels to me like a kind of determination and strength. So this control, by talking about the control and the need to release it, actually helps you to see the vulnerability, that it's sort of more like armor, and that in reality, if control is my religion, then I'm headed for a collision. And that's what it is. And it's just great. And I think even the way she's singing is intentional, because it's like a little bit strained. It's a little bit out of control. And then the second verse, just pay attention to the drums. Now it's like a tom and a snare arrangement, a very 80s fluttering flute keyboard sound. The bass is just slapping and popping. And it's great. Then we get to French Exit. Again, Kevin Parker, and Danny Harl co-production. Just great drum beat to start. He's a drummer. I was kind of disappointed when the rest of the song comes in. It sort of feels to me like it's an ode to TLC, to Waterfalls, and even No Scrubs, just with the instrumentation. I feel like Kevin Parker's having fun. I feel like he's like, wait, how do Australians talk? Blimey. I get to make a pop record. I don't know how they talk. I get to make a pop record, so I'm just going to make a pop record. Shrimp. I'm going to make a pop record, so I'm going to do things like this, little ABBA things like this, and little TLC things like this. In a way, he's kind of like Rivers Cuomo, maybe. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as a compliment, like his ability to play with these different genres. Great guitar work at times, almost Jerry Garcia-style guitar work. And what does it mean, a French exit? Well, I'm a French professor, so I'm glad you asked me. A French exit means when you leave a party without saying goodbye to anybody. If you are in France, do you know what you call that? Filet à l'anglaise. And as a matter of fact, you can hear her say that in the song. She speaks French in this song. So what does it mean that a French exit in English, in England, a French exit is in England, and in French, it's called an English exit? It means that we just tend to other this kind of, leaving a party without saying goodbye to everybody is a natural thing. In America, we call it an Irish goodbye. Okay, it has something to do with like perceptions of the other and how they act in uncivilized and discourteous ways. The thing that makes the least amount of sense is the French goodbye, because they're so regimented with their hellos and goodbyes. You got to kiss everybody. You got to be throwing the bees over there. But still, is there some kind of interesting study that we could do on the history of the Irish goodbye, the French exit, the leaving in the English style, because there's something there. Then we get to Illusion. Is this the best track on the album? I can't tell, because there's so many good tracks on this album. Another Kevin Parker, Danny Harl thing. Starts kind of sparse with this clap on a drum machine in her voice, and it's kind of faster singing. Great little disco sounds here. Could dance all night. Very kind of Daft Punky descending pianos. It's sort of Daft Punky, but then I also think that Kevin Parker's like, what if we did a little Kylie Minogue on here? Little Kylie Minogue. She's Australian, right? Tell me in the comments if she isn't. Or if she is, give me more interaction. I just love the chorus. A little like synth solo on here. The whole thing feels so good. Falling Forever is the first track by Ian Kirkpatrick. Parker's playing drums, but he's sharing the drums with Kirkpatrick. This is funny because I hear it and it reminds me of folk music from the Balkans. The way she sings, there's a kind of ululating nature to the way she's singing, which reminds me of folk singing in the Balkans. I don't know if this is on purpose. I don't know if I'm reading into it, but that's what I hear. Nice kind of chugging drums, and it's more about this theme. It's more about this theme of how long can it keep getting better, because she's given up control, and what does she get in reward? She gets a love that keeps getting better, like the love between me and my wife. It just keeps getting better. We just keep falling forever. What a beautiful image. What a beautiful thing she's given us, this idea of falling in love forever. For an album where the lead single is like, you'll never catch me because I'm Houdini, but secretly it's actually about you might be the one to catch me. Look at this. And the way her voice just goes soaring. It's just deep enough forever. It's just great. Anything for Love. Oh my God. She like starts off laughing. It's kind of loose and fun, and you think it's kind of fun. And the funny thing is, my baby just loves drums, okay? I don't mean my wife. I mean my 16-month-old baby, okay? She loves drums. And if there's a song with no drums in it, she goes, Mo, like to get to the next song, because she doesn't want to hear a song drums. So this song starts and she's like, Mo, 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 because she had just gotten over the past one. But then fortunately the groove comes in. And when the groove comes in, it's such a great groove. Oh my God. This charismatic voice and this funky drums and the guitar and the way it just ends with this, remember when you used to do anything for love? Unfortunately, the song's kind of a ditty. It just sort of fades out. Next track is Maria, my least favorite track, probably because it reminds me of Hash Pipe by Weezer, or it reminds me of I Got a Good Feeling by Flo Rida. Just sort of pop songs that are good, but I don't like quite as much. Another Andrew Wyatt one here. More of a kind of a clubby dance track. There is a nice little bit that reminds me of the song Veritas Quo by Daft Punk. You know, that's the little sort of like Baroque one. And she sings so much like Amy Winehouse when she sings Take You for Granted. Just hear that. And then we end the album with Happy for You. This is the first time where Danny Harl gets top billing. Props to you, Danny Harl. Oh my God, my hair's just given up on me. Oh, my hair's given up on me. It's just going to be goofy as hell for the rest of the video. Do not pay attention to that. Tell me in the comments you're not looking. Tell me you're not looking at how bad my hair looks right now. All right. I should see. I don't record with like a lens. I record with my phone, so I see myself the whole time. Nice kind of ethereal opening. These drums come in and get clarified, and it's all about you look good with your new girlfriend. Listen, Olivia Rodrigo released a song called Good For You. Good for you. Good for you. You know that song? And this is kind of the same, like happy for you, good for you, all about being with a new partner. But that's okay, because Taylor Swift ripped off Get Him Back on her album. So Olivia Rodrigo's like, anyways. Really cool kind of even Tame Impala vocally sounds here. And just this great bass work. I didn't want to cry. The drums at a certain point almost sound like jungle drums, like the genre jungle, like the Amen drum break. And a great sort of synth solo and all these layers of vocals. At a certain point, the drums even almost become like Tomorrow Never Knows, the song by the Beatles. So it just has this great feeling, and what I love about it is that it's reminding us of the fact that he's a drummer and a drummer first. Now, these are some of my Patreons. Hey, Patreons, I gotta apologize. I'm moving. Our office is moving. I have to leave this awesome office. So I accidentally dropped the rest of the names behind like a bookshelf, and I can't move it right now. So just, props to my Patreons. Thank you for being awesome. I apologize if your name's not on there, but I do pretty well by you, I hope. All right, till next time, please stop dropping songs. Drake, Kendrick, I want to talk about something else. Not really. I love it all. All right, there's the camera.